All right, everybody. Well, let's dive in. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So this topic we're going to talk about today, called pro versus amateur, is actually one of my very, very favorite subjects because it's really made a huge difference in my life and in how I looked at things. Because as an industry, we have a lot of part-time, on the side, multi passionate entrepreneur type people. And with that, it creates kind of a different dynamic in real estate. So let me share my screen real quick here. Hold on. All right, you guys can see that okay? And we are recording it, so I want to make sure that is happening. And so here's the thing with the difference between a pro versus amateur. So when I first got into real estate, I remember I got two amazing pieces of advice from an old mortgage guy who walked in one day. I was a secretary. I was 22 years old. I was secretary in a mortgage office, and young and naive and cocky, whatever you want to call it. And so I was at the front desk and I was having a little tiff with my manager, right? And I remember this guy came in, his name was Bob Townsend. I'll never forget. He was an extraordinary man. And he sat down in the front and I was kind of complaining and, yik-yakking more than I should have been. And he said to me, he said, "Listen, little lady, I'm going to give you two pieces of advice that I hope you will carry with you throughout your career." He said, the first one is don't ever burn a bridge. You never know who you're going to be working for or who is going to be working for you. He said, so always take a moment and think things through before reacting and speaking before you think. And I remember thinking, yeah, whatever, right? Kind of being young. The second piece of advice is he said, look, there's a big difference between professionals and amateurs. Do everything you can to always show up like a pro. You will see throughout your life those who show up as amateurs and those who show up as professionals and the difference in them. And so I made a conscious effort to look at people that I considered professional, that I considered successful and what they were doing in their business. And I would follow them around like little puppy dogs, and I would watch them and I would reach out to them and ask them questions. And I remember even going so far as to scheduling coffee and lunch with some of these people. I would go to events and I would see who the speakers were and what they were saying and what they were doing and how they were handling things. And then I would make an effort to go up to them and ask them questions about what they had done and what the difference was in their business. So let's talk a little bit about actually the definitions according to Webster's dictionary, right? Professional, the word is an adjective, following an occupation as a means of livelihood for gain, a professional builder, for example. Meaning that, did you get into this business as a career, as a professional, or did you get into it on the side just because you thought it was easy and you thought you could make some extra money, right? An amateur is really a person who engages in a study, sport, or other activity for pleasure rather than financial benefit or professional reasons, meaning they look at real estate more as a hobby, right? And they look at it as, something to do for fun. Oh, maybe I'll close a deal or two a year and make some extra money. Maybe I'm working another job and I'll do this on the side, but their interests are divided. It's not their full-time job. It's not their 100% focus of what they do. It's something that they do for fun, so to speak, right? So there's this little test that I have called professional versus an amateur. And you can go down here and you can look at all the different things that make up the difference. And we're going to dive into these too. But if you look on the left-hand category, you will see all of the highlights effectively of what a professional does. And on the right, really what an amateur does. So for example, a professional, they show up every day. They show up to work and they're prepared and ready to work. For an amateur, they kind of show up when they want to, right? They get into this because, oh, I can be flexible. Like the beauty of real estate is you can have a flexible schedule. The challenge in real estate is that people take that too far and they choose not to work when they need to. So a professional shows up no matter what. Like, I cannot think of a time when I didn't show up, when I was even sick with cancer, when I was even, dealing with a broken foot. I showed up. If I needed to be there, I found a way. I remember being sicker than a dog and driving to Auburn to meet a client for an inspection, because that's what you do. In this industry, you show up. For amateurs, many times they allow even little things to distract us, right? Oh, wait, I don't think I'll do that today because I want to go to the movies, or because I don't want to get out of my pajamas, or whatever that is. For professionals, we stay on the job all day. Amateurs, we do a little bit here, a little bit there, right? Professionals, we're committed for the long haul. And for amateurs, our commitment comes and goes. How many of you have a little bit of ADD, right? You some days you're committed and some days you're not so committed. And so we're going to go through, I'm not going to read all of these, but this is a great example for many of you to look through and see, what is it how are you showing up? Like, which ones of these are you doing or not doing? And this really helps you to see where and how you're showing up. Now, please keep in mind, you guys, there's no judgment about this. If you literally did get into real estate as a hobby, to kind of do it on the side to make extra money, no problem. That's your choice, right? But if you are really here for the long haul, if you are really committed and you really want to make this a career, then you got to show up like a professional, right? So let's talk about a couple things. This is a crucial question to answer, and it defines your behavior, and your behavior defines your success or failure. What I find many times is those who are struggling, or those who are challenged, not everybody, but some who are really struggling, and we're seeing a very different market right now. Many times, frankly, it's because they are not showing up as a professional. Now, I'm going to show you guys my coffee cup here that says no filter. It literally means no filter. So if I'm hurting your feelings, I'm going to apologize right now. If you're sensitive about this, I'm going to apologize right now. But sometimes the truth really hurts, right? Sometimes you really need to look in the mirror and see what really is the situation that you're dealing with and how can you improve it. I know that in my career, when I've made the biggest changes is when somebody has been brutally honest with me and told me, hey, you got to do this, or you're not showing up like you said, or you're not committing or making the promises like you said. And when they do that, it shakes me a little bit. And I'm like, okay, that's true. Now I look at my life and my real estate career. I've been 29 years in real estate. And I will tell you every single day that I am a professional full-time real estate agent. This is what I do. I don't have side jobs. I don't have side hustles. I don't do anything else. I do not look at this as a hobby. I am a full-time professional real estate agent. So can you, without a doubt, say the same thing? Only you have to answer that question, not me, right? So let's go through and talk about a few things that I think are important. First of all, professionals have a detailed schedule. And in the coming weeks, we're gonna talk all about how to create your ideal schedule on a Tuesday tune-up. But professionals have a schedule. If you were to look at my calendar, you would see my calendar and what I have scheduled and what I have going on. For example, on this Tuesday tune-up, it's in my calendar. It happens every week. I show up every week. Unless something emergency has happened, I'm here every week for this Tuesday tune-up. I do this for free. I give this value from my experience for free. This is not something I charge for. It's open to anybody with any company, right? But I am professional. So in my opinion, I have to be here because all of you are counting on me and I would not show up. Amateurs work when they feel like it. Show up sometimes, other times they don't. Who knows? I mean, again, no judgment. This is up to you. But if you are not getting the results that you want in your business, that may have a lot to do with how you're showing up. The next one is professionals focus on habits, right? There's a great book, you guys, called Atomic Habits. If you've not read it, get it on audio, listen to it a few times. And they focus on what do they do every day, right? So for example, I'm in an accountability group and I'm checking in with them. They're making my calls, doing what I've said that I'm going to do. I'm in that accountability group. What are your daily habits? What does that look like every day? My good friend, Frank Crandall, who is part of my accountability group, He gets up in the morning and the first thing he does is he says he does not touch his phone for 30 minutes. Every day he does not touch his cell phone. I've not been able to accomplish that goal yet, but he does not touch his cell phone for 30 minutes. During that time, he writes down his gratitude, he does his meditations, he focuses on the things that are important to him. So he has daily habits, as do I. I have daily habits that I follow every day. I'm in my office usually every day by 8 a.m., whether it's my home office or my physical office, but I'm in my office and I'm going through and planning out my day, writing my to-dos, making sure that I'm getting things taken care of that are important. Amateurs focus on goals, meaning they're like, someday I'm going to do this, right? Oh, somebody needs to read. Sorry. Someday I might do this, or I'm not sure what's important, or maybe I'll get around to it. In fact, I've been working on my Tuesday tune-up education calendar. And one of the things we're going to do also is goals versus priorities, one of my favorite classes of all time. By the way, on a side note, if you guys have topics that you would like me to cover, please go ahead and post those in the chat when you have time, or shoot me an email and I'll be happy to put together classes on things that you want to hear about. So what does your life look like? What do your daily habits? I always say this, if I were to follow you around with a video camera all day long, what would I see you doing, right? How much time have you been spending on social media? How much time have you spent, doing nothing? How much time have you spent focused on what is most important? For example, in our sales fuel class, we have a requirement of you have to call and talk to 10 people every day using our success tracker. Are you doing that? If you're not getting the results that you want, then that's the problem, right? Then we can take those daily habits and how can we tweak them and fix them so that you're getting better results than you want to. But are you doing the work on a daily basis? What do your habits look like? The next one is professionals strive to improve, meaning they're constantly finding ways to improve. What I'm always fascinated by is when I go to these training things at your local association of realtors, or you go to maybe a Tom Ferry event or whatever trainings you're going to, I'm always amazed at how many longtime agents are there. Like, I always think that agents think that at some point you're going to know it all and you won't have to go to that stuff anymore. But what I find is the professionals are always striving to improve. They're always looking for a way to make things better, to improve their craft, to get, to step up in a different way, to learn from somebody else, right? And so professionals are always striving to improve. Amateurs strive to achieve. They're like, oh, I'm going to go, they want to be the center of attention or whatever that is. They're not focused on what it takes to improve. And what I always find too is the most professional agents and the ones that I've seen around the longest time are the most humble, genuine, willing to share people. They're more than happy to share. Just like I share every single week. Like, I have no secrets. I'm always amazed at how many people are like, well, why would you share that? Someone might steal it. Well, the truth is, I've done many of these trainings to thousands of people, and the percentage of people that actually do the work and step in and create and follow and try to, not really steal, I'm like, you can have it, is very minor, which makes me sad a little bit. It's like, why are you not utilizing this information to improve who you are and improve your craft, right? Like, this is what to me is really important. So the next one is professionals crave failure. Amateurs fear failure. Now, what does that mean? I'm here to tell you guys, and again, if I challenge you to talk to somebody who's been around any significant amount of time, and they're going to tell you how they've failed more than they've succeeded. Each one of those failures has given you the opportunity to do one of two things, to either rise up or bury your head in the sand, right? The failures are what teach you the lessons. Sadly, success doesn't really teach you much in the way of lessons. And, I have my favorite quote. Let me see. I don't know if I pulled it up real quick. Hold on a second. Where is it? Let's see. My favorite Michael Jordan quote. Let me find it, because this has been on the wall of my office for 29 years. And it is the one that says, where is it? Hold on here. I'm sure you guys have heard me say this a million times. It is the one that says, I have missed 9,000 shots. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my career, and that is why I succeed. That is truly my favorite quote of all time. And I think about that a lot because I look back over my career, like I did not get my real estate license until I was 30 years old, right? And the irony is I literally got fired from more jobs than I was hired from during that time. I worked so many different jobs and none of it worked for me until I got into real estate. And then even in real estate, you guys, I've screwed up so many times. I've made such huge mistakes in my career. I've started over and over and over again. And that to me is why I have succeeded. In fact, I was talking to a new agent last week who's on the other end of a transaction. And she made a mistake in the transaction. And admittedly, she said she made the mistake. I go, listen, I'm here to help give you a life lesson that I learned. And my life lesson personally is if I screw up in a transaction, I write the check. If I screw up, I write the check. If I did not screw up, I don't write the check. But here's what I can promise you. If you have to write a check in a transaction, you will not make that mistake again, right? And I have written some big checks in my career on mistakes that I made in a contract or something I didn't explain to somebody or something that happened that I was not prepared for because I had not taken the time to learn and reach into it, right? So the real truth is, if you screw up, if you make a mistake, write the check, people. Don't make other people, don't make your lenders kick in money. Don't make the other agent kick in money if they didn't make the mistake. That's the value of what I have learned from failing. And I have failed over and over and over and over again, more times than I would like to admit. And I find it funny that some people are like, number one, I mean, not funny, but interesting that people are embarrassed by failure. I get that. Like no one wants to look like they screwed up, right? But what I can tell you is that when I see that I've screwed up or made a mistake or failed on something, to me, I look at that as a learning lesson. Like, oh my goodness, that's a perfect opportunity for me to learn how to fix it, how to make sure that I do things correctly the next time and don't make that same mistake again. Okay, the next one is, oops, I missed this one. Professionals take action, amateurs procrastinate. Like what I know for sure is that people have a million great ideas. What is the difference between them being successful with those ideas and not is action. Meaning people have this tendency to think, oh, well, I can think about it or dream about it or put it on my calendar. I get all that, you guys. But it doesn't matter if you don't actually take action, if you don't get up and do the work and show up and make things happen, right? We can talk all day long. We can talk for hours about, and we'll be like, I mean, how many of you guys have had like this great idea and the next thing you know, you see it being sold somewhere making $1 bazillion, right? Like, what is that blanket that they, like, I can't think of that blanket, the name of it. But I think that it's hilarious that guy made like stupid money, right? With selling this blanket, right? Like I'm amazed by the things that are invented. Like I look around and I'm like, wow, how smart was somebody that came up with that idea? Like I have these new glasses that I got called Pair, and the actual glasses are just like white clear, but they have all these little magnet colors that you can put on. And I'm like, how smart is that? Instead of going out and having to buy new glasses all the time, right? You could just take these little magnets. Oh yeah, the Snuggie, that's it, Emily. You can take these glasses and I got like 10 different colors, right? Like I spent stupid money on these little magnet glasses. So, but the difference, you guys, is between those who take action and those who procrastinate. Like we all procrastinate. I am not in any way going to say I am not a procrastinator, but I can tell you that many times the difference between the professionals and the amateurs are amateurs procrastinate and professionals take action. Many of us times we talk. Oh yeah, I'm going to make calls tomorrow. Oh yeah, I'm going to go do this tomorrow. Oh yeah, tomorrow I'm going to get around to that. And tomorrow never comes. So again, how are you actually showing up? Are you taking action? Are you doing what you can, or are you procrastinating, right? Okay, the next one, this one's good. This one is professionals practice, amateurs wing it. This one I love because I can't even tell you how many times I have talked to my team about doing role playing or talk to other people. Hey, let's do some role playing. Let's practice. They're like, oh, no, I'm better when I'm in front of a client. Really? Like, why are you not practicing? Here's the interesting thing. The two highest paid professionals in the world are athletes and celebrities. Third is salespeople, right? But athletes and celebrities. How much time do you think an athlete, do we have any athletes here on the call? How much time does an athlete spend practicing for a game? Like out of a 40-hour week, I can promise you that probably 38 hours are spent practicing so that on game day, they show up like a professional, right? Athletes make millions of dollars. Why do they make millions of dollars? Because they have spent their whole life practicing. Many of them from the time they were small children, practicing over and over and over and over again, right? Amateurs just wing it. They're like, oh, I'll be fine. I'll get there and I'll wing it. I'll be okay. I wing it all the time. How many of you have winged a seller presentation? How many of you have winged a buyer presentation, right? How many of you are actually practicing what to say, when to say, and how to say it with people? Professionals practice, amateurs wing it, right? Okay, this next one is professionals want to be remembered, amateurs want to be noticed. Like professionals are the people who, when you are working with someone, they go, oh yeah, I want to work with Marguerite. I remember her. I worked with her back in the day. Versus somebody who just want to like, hey, it's me. Hey, pay attention to me over here, right? So what are you doing with your clients to actually be remembered? How are you making people feel? And how are you doing something special? I will tell you that last week on Valentine's Day, my husband and I chose to go to a restaurant in El Dorado Hills. And my friend who's on this call, I won't call her out, happened to see that I was at the restaurant, called the restaurant and paid for our dinner. Now, I'm going to tell you that that was one of the most memorable things somebody has done for me. It makes me want to cry just thinking about it, right? What are you doing with the people in your life to be remembered, to make them feel special, right? To make them feel like they are important to you. And that is truly the difference between what I see as professionals and people who are just trying to get noticed. Like that person didn't like go online and publish and say how amazing she was because she did this. Like nobody even knew. It was just something special she did, right? So that to me is a big difference between professionals and amateurs. That's the big difference. All right, so the next one, we're down to the very last one. Professionals are results oriented. Amateurs are interest oriented. What does that mean? It means to me that, keep in mind, you guys, in real estate, we only get paid on results, right? We don't get paid for time. We get paid on results. And what work are you doing on a daily basis, again, to get the results? And how are you showing up to provide those results for your clients and the people that you care about? Amateurs are more interested in, again, what's in the best interest of me, not what's in the best interest of other people. And it's important to really take the time to look at that and what that looks like and means to you. How much of what you are doing are your results showing up? If you're not getting the results that you want, it might be because of all of the previous things we've talked about today in professional versus amateur. How can you take that test? And I'll find the little test, the graphic, and include it in the recording. But how much of your time is spent showing up as an amateur versus a professional? And how can you go through those things where you are, like, be self-reflective, be honest. What things are you doing that are showing up as an amateur? And how can you turn that around? How can you change that? How can you make that look different, right? So even as far as how you dress, I know that the world has changed a lot and people show up a lot more casually, but I'm always fascinated by saying, if you had it used to be $1 million, now it's a $5 million client showing up tomorrow that you were going to meet for the first time, how would you show up? How would you dress? And does a $300,000 client deserve any less? They don't, right? So are you showing up dressed as a professional? Do you feel good about how you dressed up? That's what it means to me. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to show up in a tuxedo or, formal gown. It's, do you feel professional in front of the people that you're showing up for, right? Things are different. I realize that. When I first got into real estate, man, we always showed up in suits and heels and, dressed up. And now people are able to show up more casual. It's a different world, but I still feel that you have to show up where you feel the most professional and the most comfortable. Like, I don't ever want to show up and be apologizing for how I look. Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't have time to, get ready. I didn't have to, whatever, right? Or something came up and I didn't have time to dress appropriately. Like, I never want to apologize for how I'm showing up. And I've done it. Don't get me wrong. I've done that. So but the reality is the majority of the time, if you were to follow me around, majority of the time, you would see that I show up as professional as possible, whenever possible. And that's the difference in professionals versus amateurs. So that is all I had today for my presentation. And oh my goodness, look at all the people who showed up. So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. And if you have anything you want to add to it, or ask questions about anything in particular. Oh, I'm excited to see a few people here today. I haven't seen in a long time. Tom March, how are you, sir? Carolyn, how have you been? So any questions, you guys, comments, thoughts, feedback? Thank you, Larry. I appreciate that. All right, you guys, you're awful quiet today. By the way, professionals ask lots of questions.
What you said about, sorry, this is Isaac Hansen, by the way.
Hi, Isaac.
Hi. What you said about the sharing information and how some people would be standoffish about that because, you don't want to give away your secrets, stuff like that. I saw from this other coach one time talking about how he encourages, especially people who are experienced, he encourages sharing what you know, because it will not, like, it feels good to help people, but also he brought up this story about this NFL coach who had this playbook, and then there were these scouts from the other team they're going against in a couple of days in this like crazy game who went to scout them. They didn't get the chance to go scout them, and the coach found out about it. And so he sent his playbook to the opposing team, and he said, "You don't need to scout me. Here, you can have my playbook." And they were like, "Why would you do that?" And he said, "Because we've mastered it so well and we're so fluent in it that even though you know our secrets, we can still take you down." So it's like
that is absolutely, that's so true. And keep in mind, you guys, too, when you build your business right, you don't have competition. Okay. When you build your business right with relationships and you take care of people and you have mastered that craft, people can't take that away from you. Right. And that is so incredibly valuable. Like I said, I've shared all my stuff. You all can have anything you want from me. And what I know is the difference is if we show up at an appointment and you're my competition, I have mastered it so well that you're not really competition to me. And that's what you should be doing as well. How can you master who you are and who your craft is? And again, if you are building these relationships, you don't have competition. Like, I could go to the same appointment, and many times because I have had a longer standing relationship with them, I will win the appointment. And so what are you doing on a daily basis to master your craft? And how can you take the information you got today and step up and show up in a much more professional manner, right? That's really what it comes down to. So great. Thank you, Isaac. That was so valuable. Carolyn says, "Thanks so much. Excellent class. I took away some very precious nuggets." Good to see you, Carolyn. Any other questions, comments, feedback? All right. Well, we will wrap it up today. Thank you guys so much for joining me on Tuesday TuneUps. We do record these and we will be posting them as well. So if you have any questions or anything you want to know, I think we're now posting them on my YouTube channel. So I encourage you to go over to YouTube, Marguerite Crispello, look me up and subscribe, and you will see them there. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody, today. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.